Welcome to Real Talk, episode number 2. I am Brian Rose, the founder and host of London Real. I'm here in the studios. Usually, you find me opposite a guest where I talk to him for a couple hours and we go super deep. But this is Real Talk, where I answer your questions every single week. It's fun. It's a lot faster. It's a lot shorter. As much as I like to go in for a couple hours, I love also answering questions. I'm answering your questions that you've either submitted to me on the Academy, on Facebook, on YouTube. So let's get started. Let's do this. As expected this week, we've got a lot of questions about pitching. And that's because our last guest was Oren Clough, who's the author of the book Pitch Anything. And Oren was sitting right here about 3 weeks ago, and he told me how you can go in to a 20-minute meeting and pitch your idea about your business and close. And this is different than selling. Selling is when you have a relationship with a client or you sell a commoditized product. Pitch is when you go in and you close the deal. Or as Oren would say, one shot, one kill, lick the arrow, and put it in the carcass. And a lot of people watched this episode and immediately applied it to their lives. And so a bunch of your questions are about the pitch. I'm going to get right into them. But before I do, I want to talk about one of our Academy members named Archie, who saw the episode and literally took what he learned and went right in. He pitched a major bank in Europe, an idea for services that he had, and he completely changed his mindset. One of the great takeaways I got from his post on the Academy private Facebook group was that he rehearsed the pitch, and he just rehearsed the pitch, not the outcome, not how people would feel about it, not his emotional investment on what would come afterwards, but just the pitch. What a great idea. Get it down to where it's like this, and Oren talked about that in his show. The other thing he did is when he got to the meeting, he took control of the situation and basically started on his own terms. We've all been to the meeting where we go in and there's chit chat beforehand and there's da-da-da-da-da, and it ruins your rhythm. And so instead he went in, he took command, and he gave his pitch. And it's a great story. He's actually going to do a video all about it, but this is how I actually get to learn from a lot of you guys. And he went through, he got a completely different reaction than he was expecting, a different reaction from people who he normally knew would give him kind of an opposite reaction to a pitch he would do. And while he said he didn't get this specific piece of business, now they want to talk to him about something else. So fantastic story. I think the pitch is super important. And that goes right into one of the questions from Nura this week, who said, Brian, I've got a question. How do you develop key partnerships in a new business or startup? I pitch. And all the things that you've seen happen on London Real over the years, all the partnerships we have, whether it's through Bulletproof Coffee, Squarespace, Dan Pena with the live event we did at the Ritz, this partnership I did with Silicon Reel and Accenture, which is like a Fortune 100 company around the world. They sponsored us in the first 4 weeks of us starting the technology show. It was a huge win. All of those came from pitches. And quite honestly, there were another 50 pitches you'll never hear about that broke my heart because they never went anywhere. I didn't get responses. People were like, eh. And I mean, I kid you not, for the tech show, I must have pitched all the major law firms, all the major consultants, all the major investment banks, and it just wasn't the right fit. So the idea is that you really always need to be pitching. And I go back to what Daniel Priestley said of KPI when he was here on his episode, and you can watch the webinar on the Academy where he literally taught us how to become a key person of influence. If you look at Richard Branson's what, in his 60s now, probably a multi-billionaire, has his brands all around the world. He's got it made, right? And what does Richard do? He pitches. He constantly pitches. He's pitching for you to watch that show. What is it called? Pitch Rich, where you actually pitch him. So he's pitching his promotion there. He pitches his Necker Island takeaways. He pitches his airlines. He pitches his mobile services for Virgin. All that he's constantly pitching. So you need to always be pitching something. And if you're not pitching your next relationship, friendship, business deal, something, then really something's wrong with you, because I think you should be pitching until the day you die. I mean, when I'm 80 years old, hopefully I'll be pitching the local lawn bowling association that they should open up a new pitch and name it after London Real or something like that. So Nura, I hope that answers your question. I'm constantly pitching, and I'm constantly looking for the right strategic partners and then trying to impress them with my work ethic and my ideas. And that's what originally got Dave Asprey's attention from Bulletproof. We did an episode here with Dave, and then we first of all produced the hell out of it, made a beautiful show. We promoted it like crazy, sliced it up into clips, tweeted out quotes, posted all sorts of things on YouTube and on Facebook, and he was like, wow, these guys are really impressive. And so when it came time, about 3 weeks later, I said, Dave, let's have Bulletproof be the official drink of London Real. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Thinking out of the box, giving him some ideas. And he was like, yeah, let's do it, Brian. And so that's like an example of kind of one of the wins. So Noura, I hope that answers your question. Find out something strategic and then pitch, but go in with like big ideas, take control, and think outside the box. So hopefully that helps you. Before I get to the next question by Aoife Kennedy, we're making a big announcement tonight. I'm actually announcing it on Real Talk, and I haven't really told anyone outside the inner circle here, but we are having the London Real Academy Summit, March 12th, here in London. I can't give you too many more details, but it's a gathering of all of the London Real Academy members from around the world for one day of awesomeness. I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to have more details coming. It's only open to Academy members, and there will be a limited number of places. So that's all I'm going to say right now. I know I'm going to get so many questions happening right now. We're going to post a link right now on the Academy Facebook group if you want to learn more. But I'm just throwing that out there. That's the date. It's going to happen. We're all going to come together, and I'll just leave it at that. So on to the next question. Aoife Kennedy, Academy member who was featured on our Thursday Tribe Talk email about how the Academy got her to make some big changes in her life. She said, Brian, what scares you and what are your vulnerabilities? I hope it's not too deep, but we're all in this together. Love your work. Huge thank you. Thank you for that, Aoife. And Sebastian Mansley said, Brian, in the spirit of Charlie Munger, he wants to know, what do you like about your abilities and what don't you like? And I'm kind of bastardizing his questions there, but I thought both of these worked really well together. And I always think of that line from the movie Dirty Harry, where Clint Eastwood says, a man has got to know his limitations. And the older I get, the more things I realize that I'm good at, and some things I realize that I'm not so good at. And I think the sooner you can identify those things about yourself, the sooner you can be objective about them, and then do what you're good at, or double down what you're good at, invest in yourself, and then partner with people that are better at doing what you're not good at doing. And if you look at the team we have here at London Real, whether it's Dre and tech, Luis on editing and filmmaking, Julian with strategy, Noura on community, James Black and doing a lot of our writing, and the list goes on. Each one of these people has a specialty that I don't necessarily have, or something that they just do better at when I need to be thinking of other things. And I learned a long time ago what I'm good at. And to be really honest with you, Aoife, what I'm good at is being really relentless in a pursuit of a single goal. I've always been good at that, sometimes to my own detriment in a big way. But once I lock in on something, I kind of say, all right, we have to do X, Y, and Z to get there. And then it happens every single day until we either get a result or I go insane. So that's how I am as a person. Not always the funnest person to be around in that sense, because I always have this, we have to do this. And you can ask like Julian around here, people around here, like I don't miss a day of training, because for me, that would not get me to my goal. So like it always happens at this time and there's no questions. I'm always here in the office every day of the week pretty much. And I don't remember the last time I took a day off, because it wouldn't really be acceptable to do that. So that's what I'm good at. What I'm not always good at is creating, coming up with new ideas, and I'm not always good as bringing different angles to the table. And so that's where I think I'm good at partnering. So when it comes to, say, having a live event at the Ritz, it made sense to do it with Dan Pena, not to do it on my own, because that's not something I do, or that's something I've done in the past. So I got the best, and I pitched Dan, and we went in for him and did that with him. Again, when it comes to a partner like Bulletproof, again, recognize someone that's a KPI in the industry and then partner up with them. And so it's important for me to notice some things I'm good at, some things I'm not. I personally don't think I'm the greatest interviewer. Some people disagree with me. I think I've got more to go. I think I need to go more to the artist and emotional spectrum and to go more with my feelings and my flow. I think I can be a very logical male archetype sometimes where everything is kind of by the book and we do this here. And so in my interviews, I always try to kind of get emotionally involved with the person. One thing I think I do well is I try to put myself in their shoes. So if I'm interviewing Dorian Yates, as opposed to just being in awe of what he accomplished, I try to put myself inside of his skin and say, well, what if I was Dorian and I woke up and I'm like, you know what, I'm the greatest bodybuilder in the world, but I'm still having a hard day. So what's that like? So I think in a way I'm good at that as far as my asset, but the other things I think I need to learn, and I think that can be a wonderful process of learning. But I would say that's one thing I'm not good at. What other vulnerability am I bad at? I also think I'm very critical on myself, which is probably why I keep that schedule. But sometimes I can be such a critic that I don't enjoy the big moments, and I don't give myself a little leeway sometime to breathe and kind of run with it, and even sometimes improvise. So we're starting to learn from that. That's one of the reasons we're doing Real Talk, is because we're trying to try a few new things and shake it up a little bit and see what happens. So hopefully that answered your question. Next question is from Robert. This is a deep question, and it's one that I talk about on the shows, but not really enough. It's one that you might be thinking about. So let's go in for this one. Robert says, I have spent the last 3 years becoming more in tune with my heart and the universe, but now I find it hard to get anything done since those things have shown me their way of bringing me abundance in life. I feel like in the past, fear and worry was the thing keeping a fire under my ass to get things done and motivating me to be more outgoing, take risks, and work hard. But since I've journeyed in the other direction of no fear or worry, added to a loss of the need for materialism, I don't have anything left to push me. And so he says it's like I went from being passive to not knowing where I need to go. So any advice is appreciated. Robert, sounds like you've been watching my journey on London Real. If you've watched my episodes even from 3 years ago, I started this show as almost an anti-capitalistic move. I was running away from banking and the materialism and the idea that you had to get things done and do deals, and that was going to be where you wanted to go. And I kind of went the other way of we were just broadcasting. And then I went around along my own ayahuasca journey, and I kind of went down that road. And it can be great because it can be very freeing, and it can open you up and get you off that treadmill of life of I have to accomplish this and I have to accomplish that. But oftentimes you don't know where you're going after that. And I think going to that side of the spectrum is a wonderful way of discovering where you need to go and who you are. But I think also you end up coming back around the other part of the spectrum to where you kind of assume your identity and your ego again, and you want to get things done. And so I try to embrace both. Kind of like when Elliot Holst was here, he talked about the seasons of life. And for him, he went so manic making videos for so long that he had to take a break and lay on a hammock for 6 months and stop. And I think that's very healthy. And so when Dan Pena came here 18 months ago, he saw me and he said, Brian, this is great, but it doesn't really feel like you're living up to your potential. And I was offended by that, but I think he was right. And so if you've seen me now, I would argue, and you could too, that I've come back the other side of the spectrum. And now we're building here. We're building the academy. We're making the shows better. We're getting a team around us. And we're becoming more, I don't know if the word is egocentric, but we're becoming more accountable for what we're doing. And I honestly think that's a really healthy thing. And I think most of my life I'm going to be bouncing between these two sides of the spectrum. And so for you, Robert, and I talked to Graham Hancock about this too in our very first episode, and Graham is very spiritual and he's very deep, and he talks about his own spiritual journeys and psychedelic journeys. But at the end of it, he said, Brian, I have an ego too. He said, I write books for a living and I want them to be great, and I'm concerned about my reviews and the copies I sell. And he's like, I embrace that part of my personality. And so, Robert, I think you need to embrace that egoist portion of your mentality that says, okay, I'm a human, I need to eat, I need to survive, I need to protect myself. And so it's important to embrace being that person as well, and not necessarily go down the spectrum of I'm just going to meditate and be extremely accepting and giving and loving. I think there's a beautiful thing about competition. I think there's a beautiful thing about goals. It makes us who we are. And so sometimes when I'm focusing on the membership or the summit that's coming up and all the great things we're going to do, part of me says, but Brian, it's about the journey and it's about just being in tune with life. And yes, it is. And it's about exploring these great stories. But I think there has to be a balance, as in I think you also need to be going somewhere. Because if you look back over the past, say, 6 months of your life, I think you do need to make progress. And I think life is all about progress. So I hope that answers your question, Robert. I think we all struggle with that yin and yang, but it's somewhere embracing both. And I don't think I'm going to ever go one day and sit on a mountain and overlook the valley. I think I'm going to be the guy that's constantly doing things, but at the same time, I want to be the one that appreciates it and embraces that we are just doing a beautiful thing. And like I said on the last Real Talk, you know, when we have someone like Dennis McKenna in the chair, it's just like we know we're telling a great story and making a beautiful piece of art, and that in itself is a good enough reason for being in London Real that week. Or we had an amazing focus group 2 weeks ago, and 15, 20, 25 people came here and connected souls on an intimate basis. We did something right, so nothing else mattered that week. Or I hear a story about Archie going in and doing a pitch based on something he learned on the show. Like, that's doing something right. So it's a yin and yang. It's a balance between the goal and embracing the moment and enjoying being a human and being part of life. So I hope that helps you. And it's good to go a little bit deep here. So again, this is Real Talk. It's a short format that we're going to have every week. I am also going to have some guests here in the chair, and we're going to talk about questions that we get from you, things happening currently in the City of London, and we're just going to shake it up and provide this forum for you so you can watch something quick during the week, and you don't always have to do this big, deep dive with the guest. 2 more questions for you. This one comes from William Meister. He asked last time if he should build his business in the Dutch language as opposed to English. And I had actually suggested in the end that he go with English because it's a bigger world niche. So he said, thanks, Brian. He is actually switching to English right now. But he said, I'm curious to hear more about you starting London Real and the Academy. He's like, I understand why you left banking, but you could tell me more about the inspirational moments or meeting with the people that sparked the fire. I'll give you the quick story. London Real started as a reaction to me walking away from something that I hated. So as I said, I was in this process of these goals, and as Ido Portal would say, this dogma I had was that if I became the most successful banker ever, I would be happy, to me realizing I wouldn't be happy. And so I walked away from that, and London Real was the only thing that made sense to do with my time, which was to sit down and talk to people and record it and broadcast it. And once I made the decision to do it, I was all in 100%. Again, that's what I'm very good at, going in 100%. And so that was the start of London Real. It was a way of featuring people, communicating with the world, inspired by Joe Rogan. Later, I had the honor of going on to Joe Rogan's show in Los Angeles, and it was just a real complete cycle of being kind of recognized for contributing something. But at the same point, I still had to come back to London 3 years ago and get on with the show and get on with really making something for ourselves. And so that's what we did. What happened with the Academy is I was bumping into all these people on the streets that would literally stop me and say, Brian, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I learned so much from Dorian Yates, from Jeff Thompson, from Mike Dolce, all these people. And they would be like, okay, thanks. And I'd be like, oh, well, how did you change your life? And they'd be like, I don't know. I just went to the next episode. And I just thought we were actually doing a disservice to people to give them on these transformational journeys and then give them no place to go. So a great example would be Oren Clough last week. He gets you all excited about pitching something, and then you've got no one to tell about your pitch or to collaborate with your pitch or talk to about the goods and bads or inspire with your pitch. So that's why the Academy was created. It was a place where the truest, the most hardcore London Reelers from around the world can come together, trade ideas, meet in person, inspire each other, mentor each other, do business together, start companies together. And they do it all in a place where there's premium content like our day with Dan Pena at the Ritz, our live episode here with Phil McKernan in studio, webinars. You can watch live shows while I actually interview people. There's a bunch on the Academy now. You can watch Breaking Bad star RJ Mitty, watch my interview with him before it goes live in a few weeks. And so we bring people in with the premium content. We have an awesome social network, and then people collaborate and talk. So Archie this week was able to talk with like 25 other London Reelers. There's a great thread going on right now about all the things he did for his pitch. People are asking him how he did it. He's going to post a video about it. So the idea was to build an academy to take people to the next level, because I think we were quite honestly doing a disservice to just leave people sitting there after so much inspiration. So that's why the Academy was built. It's been a crazy ride. The greatest part is the people that come here to the studio on Friday and really meet each other, tell us what their lives are like, and tell us how the Academy can help them better. And that's been the best part for me by far. That and just the changes we've made in people's lives, it's been amazing. Before that, I was just broadcasting content to the world, and I didn't know the reaction it was having, and I didn't really get to meet these people. So that's been incredible, and that's why the summit's happening, because we want to get everyone together in one room, 200 people in the same place with the same mentality, collaborating, meeting, getting inspired. Anyways, more to come on the summit later. So there you go. A couple more questions here. Someone asked, Charlotte asked, what's the story with the reels? As you know, there's lots of reels around the world. The ones that spring to mind, and this is in no order of favoritism: New York reel, Vancouver reel, Midwest reel, Toronto reel, Flow reel. We've got Melbourne reel. We've got a lot more of these reels. And what happened was 3 years ago when I was on the Joe Rogan Experience, at the very end of the show, I was just so excited to be there. I was so excited by how London Reel had transformed me and got me on, the show that had inspired me, that I said, anyone listening around the world, if my story has inspired you, what we've done by communicating, talking to people, broadcasting it, then I encourage you to go and start your own city reel. And I later put out a blog post that said, if you want to do this, then do it, but don't talk about it. Film a pilot and send it to me, and then you've got my time to help you, to guide you, to give you suggestions. And so we did that, and within months, reels started happening all around the world. And also, quite honestly, what people learned is it's hard work. And of course it is. Anything worthwhile in life is hard. That's all there is to it. And when you're busy doing hard work, that should always be a reminder to you that that means you're getting something that someone else isn't willing to put the work in. So whenever there's hard times around here, or I have hard times in my daily life, I just think no one else would be willing to go through this much hardship. So we know we're doing something right, because it clears all the suckers out. That's what I always say about the weather in London. It clears all the suckers out, because you're not here because it's a sunny day. You're here, because you're dealing with the rain, you're dealing with all these other things, and you get the benefits if you push through those hard times. So that was one of the points of the reels. And so these shows have started, and they all have their own personalities. Olives is different from the guys in Vancouver, run a flotation tank center. They have amazing interviews, amazing production value. And everyone brings their own signature piece to it. And so we encourage that, and I try to help in as much as I can. But what I really do is encourage them to keep going, because I think it transforms you as a person when you go out and broadcast. It gives you discipline, it shows you hard work, and you start making those really those relationships that will become your future business partners. Back to what Nura asked, how do you find your business partnerships? A great way to do is to interview them on your reel. So I'm always encouraged to hear more reels happening around the world. Like I said, don't tell me about it. Don't send me a logo. Send me a pilot episode of your first show of your city reel. I'm not encouraging countries reel, because I think it's unfair. Someone called me the other day or sent me a message and said, I want to do Japan reel. I was like, second largest economy in the world. Well, let's start off with Tokyo reel or Kyoto reel. And those all support, but don't take an entire country. Let's just hold off on that. Let's start with a city. And then I'm happy to support. And we'll be having a bit more of a formal meeting with the other reels in the world coming up. I know we have a group that we're setting up in the Academy, and that's more to come. But right now, it's kind of a loose affiliation that we look after and we promote. And so far, it's been an amazing experience. So that's the story with the reels. Last question is from Tong. He said, Brian, what's your morning routine? Do you have a set of exercises, meditation, Tony Robbins power hour, journaling, all that stuff. How do you refresh yourself from the night before? And then finally he says, do you get scared sometimes of the next step? And this is a perfect way to close this. You know, I think your day dictates your life. It's quite simple. And if you even clock the last 24 hours of your life and write down what you did of every hour of every day, I guarantee if you emailed that to me right now, I could tell you how successful you're going to be in the next year. I'm going to go out and say that. And what I would look for is this. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting your 7 hours or 8 hours of sleep? If not, then you're just not being responsible about what you're doing, or you're not being disciplined. Yeah, I too want to stay up until 2 in the morning and watch the latest episode of Downton Abbey. Yes, I watch Downton Abbey. I'm not proud of that. It used to be uncool, but I watch it. But I know if I do that, then I'll wake up late, or I'll wake up tired, and then I won't be fresh, and it'll start my day off at a loss. So I would look at your sleep routine. I would also look at your training routine. In my opinion, you should be training very often. Physically training to a sweat, to out-of-breath proportions, 3 to 4 times a week. I think, as Elliot Holst would say, the mind is the body and the body is the mind. And so I believe if you treat your body right, your mind is going to be right. And I just don't believe that you can sacrifice one for the other very long. I tried it for a lot of my life. In my 20s, I sacrificed my body for my mind. My body was just carrying my mind around and would do whatever I did to it, and it doesn't work out. It's not very optimal. So I would say, what's your training regime? Meditation is big for me. I do it in the morning, 20 minutes. I don't fail. Again, it's a way of loving myself, as Anita Morjani would say. So I do my meditation. Journaling, I know, is super important. I actually don't do it right now, but I'm going to start doing it in the future. And that is writing down your thoughts and what's going through your mind every day to where you can look back on that in the future. Super important. You know, I do a little bit of that every morning, but it's really more of a short message to myself. So that's to come. The other thing I do is my affirmations, and those I do out loud on my iPhone as I walk to the tube, and I'm talking about all of the grand expectations that I have for the London Real Academy, for the show itself, for us as a media company, for us as an organization, where our technology Silicon Reel is going, where I'm going, where my family's going, the things I want to accomplish, and I say them as if they already happened. I'm extremely proud of the 10,000 members of the London Real Academy, who are now a network of people that they can look up around the world. They can contact for business advice. They can stay in their homes when they visit. They can watch their private videos that they've recorded about expertise in their micro niche. They can look them up on the directory in the academy. They can, all of those things. That's one of the things I envision for us. I envision us being a media company, just like the BBC. And so I say all these things to myself, and I learned a lot of that from Mimi Icon, from Dan Pena, people that do that every day. I think it's a super important part of your routine. And the last thing I would say is, how much work are you putting in? You know, the harder you practice, the luckier you get. And so I really think you need to be putting in 12 hours a day in your practice, in your specialty. Otherwise, just those things aren't going to happen for you. And just tying this back into what Noura asked, you know, what are you doing for your partnerships? Well, everything you do during your day should be getting you to the next step. So if we spend time producing a beautiful episode, that's going to show people that we're serious about our brand. That's going to attract the next guest and the next partnership. If I spend an hour preparing for a guest, or 5 hours, it's going to make that interview tight and crisp and insightful. That's going to make someone watch it and say, wow, you know, those guys at London Real, they're on their game. They're serious about where they're going. So I really think you have to really put the time in there. And looking towards the end of my day, it's your relationships. You've got to have a base. Brad Burton told me that, one of our guests on London Real, great episode. You have to have your base, and I think that's your emotional base of your relationships. In my case, it's my family and some close friends, and you have to spend time with them, especially the Munchkins, my 11-year-old. If you don't spend time with her, she knows it. And you got to log those hours, and so you got to spend that time with them. Doesn't mean it needs to be quality time. Sometimes it just needs to be you're there doing silly stuff, goofing around, whatever, but you got to spend time and let them know that they're important in your life, and they'll support you back, you know, the other way. And then the final part, I guess I would say, is nutrition. You know, don't be eating silly things, and spend some time with your diet. I'm gluten-free. I try to eat the right things. I don't eat sugars, or I stay away as much as possible. And just, you know, there's no, as Tim Ferriss would say, you know, it's a zero-sum game when it comes to your body. You might get some short-term positives. Sugar might taste good or feel good, but you're going to pay in the long run. And so I just try to be thinking everything you put in your body is either getting you towards your goal or away from your goal. So just mind that stuff. And like I said, look at your past 24 hours, and I bet I can predict the success of your year. Are you planning things? Are you loving yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you spending time with quality people? Are you collaborating with an upgraded peer group? Or are you spending time with people that talk about other people all the time, that complain about their lives, that talk about meaningless and senseless things? I think Eleanor Roosevelt said, regular people talk about other people. Good people talk. Some people talk about other people. Good people talk about things. Great people talk about ideas. I try to always be around people that are talking about future ideas. And whenever I catch myself talking with someone and we're talking about someone else, as opposed to talking about the great ideas they have, I literally edit myself out of the conversation and I change topics. And if someone is complaining about something, I listen and then I change topics. And so I think it's important what you put in your brain, and it needs not to be infectious. And that means your media, your friends, your relationships, everything. So final question, do you get scared sometimes? Yeah, as Hickson Gracie would say from the movie Choke, I'm scared all the time. I'm always scared that I'm not pushing it enough. I spoke to my father on Sunday night and I said, Dad, I'm scared I'm not taking enough risk. That's what I'm scared of. As Dan Pena told me a year ago, I'm an engineer by training from MIT. I know that. I don't like to take risks. I like to plan. We work every day and we make the episodes every day, and then everything's going to work out. But you have to take risks for things to happen. Archie took a risk by going in and pitching hard at that bank this week. He could have gone in and gave the safe pitch, but he went in hard, and he took a risk and he got somewhere. What do they say? Fortune favors the brave, right? That's an SAS logo here, I think, in the UK. If you don't shoot, you always miss. Bas Rutten, famous mixed martial artist. So I'm worried I don't take enough risk and that I'm not thinking outside the box. And as the leader of this organization, I'm worried that I'm not having a bigger vision, because like my vision is where we're going, and I need to be thinking about that. I can't be thinking about an episode. I can't be thinking about a camera shot. I need to be thinking about the next piece. And again, the final thing here is the leader of the organization has 3 things to do. And this is a great thing to know for any entrepreneur, anybody who's trying to start something, any CEO. You have 3 things to do. One is have a North Star. You got to have a vision of where you're going. That could be anything. That could be the leader of a family, the Columbus going to the New World, London Real, a startup, anything. You have to have a vision, and a really big vision, and you have to be firm in that vision. Second thing is you can't run out of money. That's it. And that whether you're a startup, whether that's your own personal organization, whatever you do, you can't run out of money, which means you can't let your vision die. You know, it also is a way of saying you can't quit on it. I could have quit on London Real early on, but I couldn't quit on it. So don't run out of money or energy. And the third one is get the right people on the team. It's that simple. I don't think you can do this alone, whether it's people I collaborate with as guests or people that have joined the team to be part of the London Real movement. Get the right people on board. And as a leader, you rinse and repeat all of those things. So that's what I try to do back and forth. Get the right team. We have an incredible team here, and we're going to have more incredible people here. Get the vision right, and don't run out of money. That's what we're trying to do. So there you go. This is Real Talk. I hope you've enjoyed. Please submit your questions here below, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, if you're watching this on Twitter, for next week. I would love to answer your questions. Also, tell me who you want here on the show. We've got a guest lined up for 3 weeks from now who I haven't told you about. It could be a previous guest, and we're going to answer your questions live here. If you've got any ideas, thoughts, criticisms, things you want to hear more of, let me know. Like I said, we take these questions from Academy members. If you want to be a member of the Academy or learn more about it, it's easy. Go watch any episode of London Real. It'll take you to londonrealacademy.com, and just look at any premium content. It'll tell you how to become a full member. It's incredible. You can come to our studio and meet me. If you sign up now, we have spaces left for this Friday's meetup here at the studio. Come sit here in the chair, smell the leather, meet Winston. You'll spend 3 hours with us in the studio telling us about what your goals are, what we can do to help you. It's an incredible time. Book your place at the summit, March 12, 2016. It's going to be awesome. Watch our videos with Dan Pena at the Ritz, Phil McKernan, our webinars, how to broadcast yourself, how to start something. Lots of stuff going on here. Would love to hear your feedback. And that's it. Until then, it's about the journey. This is Real Talk. I'm Brian Rose, and I'm out of here.